Hello, everyone. This is Spring Eternal, the fourth broadcast. I am the one and only Richard Millett. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you enjoy the show tonight. Um, I do, in fact, have COVID 19. The fever didn't last long, though. So it broke last night, and my throat's been getting better and better. So I thought I was okay enough to perform. So here we are. Uh, Weirdly, a couple weeks ago, my mother got COVID, and I did not see her during that time. I was not. There was no risk of exposure. But what is weird is almost to the hour, her symptoms and my symptoms are basically the same. I saw her after she had been um, testing negative for about it had been a week since she had tested negative, and somehow, um, so my symptoms and hers overlapped. Like I said, almost to the hour. Given minor differences that I'm a 44-year-old man and she's a 77-year-old woman. Um, Other than that, it is interesting. But here we are. We're going to do our best, and nothing can stop me. So there's also that. Also, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the very sad anniversary that is today. And so I guess 6 years ago today, um, Prince died. Um, the first record I ever bought with my own money was Purple Rain. I bought it at Peaches. So, um, so yeah, you know, and I know that Prince has been a profound influence on Van and a lot of you. He's been, I made when he was becoming the symbol, and he was not cool. and, um, I had a picture of him in my locker, and I made friends with people because they would be like, "You like Prince?" And I was expecting some horse shit like, "Oh, he's gay," or "He's weird," or whatever. And yeah, and then they'd be like, "Oh, well, I like Prince too." So, um, he did. I mean, it's going to be 150 years before people can figure out just how unbelievable that guy was. Um, I mean, he did so much, and he put so much incredible, beautiful, and kind of endlessly beautiful, brilliant art out into the world. Um, of truly a staggering amount of work. And so much of it's staggeringly beautiful. And even after his sort of, I guess, what you'd consider prime years, um, you know, and like one of his most woeful albums, um, the Rave into the Joy or whatever that one is, has "I Love You But I Don't Trust You Anymore," which is a stunning piece of writing and performance. And that's on like one of his worst records. And that song would make the reputation. That song and that performance of the song would make the reputation of anybody else. And that's just one song on one of his weakest records. You know what I mean? And most people can never even come close to that one, let alone all the other stuff that he did. So we are going to have a quick, seven. Was an important number for him. So we will have a 7 second moment of silence for Prince. So. Right. I think that was a little bit more than 7 seconds. No reference to the Kevin Seconds and the punk band. So, all right. Let's get fucking started, shall we? While I was praying, somebody touched me. While I was praying, somebody touched me. While I was praying, somebody touched me. Must have been the hand of the Lord. While I was singing, somebody touched me. While I was singing, somebody touched me. While I was singing, somebody touched me. Must have been the hand of the Lord. While I was preaching, somebody touched me. While I was preaching, somebody touched me. While I was preaching, somebody touched me. Must have been the hand of the Lord. Glory, 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 somebody touched me. Glory, 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 somebody touched me. Glory, 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 somebody touched me. Must have been the hand of the Lord. I certainly feel it today. I hope you do too. Nothing can stop me. This is called For You. Not directly a Prince reference. That, of course, is his first album. I wrote this in 2002, put it out in 2009. Yes, it is called For You. No, it is not connected to Prince. Jesus. Lunatic. There might be a fair amount of blowing my nose. I mean, I do have fucking COVID. God, it took all these years, you know? God damn, I avoided it for so long. I thought I was just gonna keep on skating through this crap, but, you know, oh well. All right. This is called For You. For you, one white cloud you could live inside of. For me, one blue-black river I can swim out of. For everyone, one bronze bolt of lightning we can absorb the energy of. It's called Submerging. My thoughts stop. My muscles go slack. I sink into the gray water. I rise, pick up shells, and see something inside. I see a spotlight bathed in cream, a turtle swimming slowly, and bioluminescent plankton out past the reef. I am not the follower. I have nothing to prepare for. I am not the leader. I've got no form. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my father's father's father. My head stays underneath. No new oxygen, but for the time being, I've got all that I need. I am not the follower. I've got nothing to wait for. I am not the leader. I'm just being born. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my mother, the clouds, the sun, the land, the water. All is one. All is one. I have come. All is one. Open reach. All is one. To infinity. All is one. Circle soul. All is one. Bird's beak. All is one. Silver seed. All is one. We have come. Sunset, but the day's not lost. Sitting under the trees, gazing at the vast expanse, palm fronds drifting down toward me in the lilting breeze, melted ice in my drink. If you can't remember the past, the same patterns will always last. Sunset, but the day's not lost, starting to slip into sleep, and watch my dreams without disbelief. But I drag myself off the beach, through the unseen black and green, and have a late dinner in the canteen. This is from Scatter. A book I did in 2005. It's called Time Off in the Tropics. The wind is hotter than it's ever been, and I'm not uncomfortable at all. The water pulls us in, and in my hair is a flower. Play in the sun, push yourself into the quiet rays. The sun is so warm until the end of the day. I'm so glad we had this time in the tropics. So used to saying that you can't have nothing. The rain is coming quick. The cabana is empty. I can see the leaves falling from the power of the storm. The hotel food is fine. The kids are running around the hallways. The sun is so warm. Enjoy the sand in your feet. Play in the sun. Play in the sun. Push yourself into the warm rays. The sun is so warm until the end of the day. I can recall it all, narrowly avoiding the serrated rocks, rain dripping down the mast. I stood and stared. My lungs were cold, made me breathe faster. My leg jumped in time, a sign of my exhilaration. I lost my name. That night my face changed. I was stronger, much stronger. After I docked, I'd walk by myself. I didn't need to talk. I'd lost the need to talk. I picked a plantain off the tree. I picked a pearl from the conch. Kept some coins, but gave away my paper money. I found a knife on the ground, saw my reflection in the blade. Nails grown long and my beard grown scraggly, my hair pinned to the back of my head. I waded off the shore and caught a fish with a sharpened stick, sliced off the scales, peeled back the skin. I quickly leapt over the sea snakes upon my return. Where should I go? Empty and without suggestion. Dirty bathtub, antiseptic self, turquoise pottery, carefully washed, not included in collection debates, and can catalog itself. A black and white television crackling on the last analog signal, transmitting drip brush pixelation to friends who have never met before dawn with unbent antennas and tinfoil knobs. No larger connection and no network without notice or critical thought. Pure broadcast. Where should I go? To a cricket's lake where Mona Lisa and George Washington's faces urgently run by on filmy soap transfers until they burst into digital diagonal scribbles that shock sleeping bluebirds and hunting robins, where austere diagrams of skeletons are traced into colored chalk onto trees and oil sticks litter the walkways, where oysters recover jewelry fallen overboard and forgotten, where flashlights find glimpses into windows, and fluoride is poured into jugs of cola. Where should I go? with a shopping bag full of batteries, returning a stolen bike to its parent company, walking in between unclean delivery trucks in need of repair, while raw-toned steel whistle air floats on wisps of strawberry hair, and accelerated voices are and accelerated voices and nonsensical 10-second annoyances. A magician perfecting an illusion which ends up with them curling up and sliding down a tree and then pretending to be asleep while assessing what the crowd seems to think. Then a throne is carried on, seating a man in a parchment crown and wrapped up in beach towels. Where should I go? Into a kitchen with aluminum knives and nurses in white lab coats and blue rubber gloves, rolls of tissue paper on unfolded t-shirts, and personalized engraved nameplates. Where should I go? Knees to the chest, laying on the cool ground. Scissors, heels pressed together, toes toward the sun, back to the cool ground. Back to the cool ground. Damp handprints on mosaics. Back to the cool ground. How are we doing out there? Doing okay? Good. Ooh. Jesus. This is called My Feelings Are Starting to Merge, and it's hard to read. So we'll see how it goes. Watching everything spreading together, going out further and further, I'm stuttering like a mussel. I sweep and call past the buildings, dousing the ground in water, twisting through stillness and exhaustion. My weight is falling off. The vents in my chest are flooded. My feelings are starting to merge, like where the lawn hits the glacier. Before I go, I don't understand why the vampire stared into a brush fire instead of sucking oxygen from the sarcophagus finger. Like Tuesday had stopped reverberating. The door reminded me, if a woman that I saw, her features a replication of a dictionary. The room dripped lemon juice. The furniture was several decades old. The orange light made Baxter's biography easier to read. He'd left me a copy with a note in German. His strewn about equipment played me at different speeds. I finished reading and I spoke too loud for the speaker to receive the signal. Still's happening. Baxter's beard was in the sink. His best friend slept annoyed in the aisle. I felt like I'd gotten married, so I went through your sewing supplies to see if I'd left anything behind. But Teresa isn't here to think what these things are for me. You played me private song, and the choruses rolled like rubber. I wondered where the teeth were that I kept on a plate when Teresa held court on the rug. The late letter looks through a glass door where the gypsies take over and starve for onions while Teresa sketches out an idea. This is the brightest 7 o'clock I've ever seen. The sun won't go down back anytime soon, especially on the buck moon. The buck moon will appear, though, its mercury trails pouring from its craters. The soil touched by its light will become mortar and aluminum, which I'll take and leave in the medicine jar alongside the liniment and syrup. Baxter leaves, takes his clothes off the vine, while he soaks for an hour or so to calm his superstitions. The buck moon hardly recognizes the branches grown over and draping themselves over the bookshelves. The unicycle was a gift which I quickly hid under the plantation, so no archaeologists would ever find it. You've got a stethoscope in your hands, and you're forgetting how to talk. I feel your hand on my head again and see the creases in my age. I fall asleep after the international news. It appears I'm being kept open here. Venus wading in a lake on the first day of spring, glides past a pregnant crane, sees what the future can be. Venus wading in a lake picked ripe fruit from the trees, pouring petals in the water, splashing along with her baby. The sparrow takes flight, arise as it arrives. Venus sitting stringing pearls for her beloved girls, walks to where she's sleeping on the deck, kisses her on the forehead. Venus swimming beneath the sun, can speak earnestly with anyone. The sparrow takes flight, arise as it arrives. Wrap my hair in a shawl, sitting deep in fall. My hands are cold and my knuckles look old, just like yours. The YMCA and Beautiful Day Records, walking through Lyons, walking through Brookfield, on our way to the music loft, my creaking guitar case, lots of snow. Silent, fierce, and you were fully formed, the wisest without makeup, without intimidation, scratching carbon paper, telegraphing to the park. The swings are ours. Lots of rain. Dyeing your hair, black lipstick again. You wrote and I read every word and it all made sense. And it still does. My fingers got dark from the ink, vegan Rice Krispie treats that I'd never eat. And between afternoon and evening, it got very solemn. We love ridiculing it. The crane lamp over my bed when the depression would end. Going to sleep, excited for the next day, completely calm, knowing that we were special. Waiting for a ride. We evaporate, we exaggerate. They'll really never understand. They didn't even like our band. Silver comes into my room and I don't want to sleep anymore. Silver comes into my room. Silver comes in beautifully adorned. Sunrise on the Caina Islands, watching from the shore. Take a picture so I won't forget. Sunrise on the Caina Islands, drawing with my eyes. Save it so I won't forget. Azure bird observes the river and its shimmering glow. Ranulph finds walking across the soil while filming the sky. I don't see the bell, there must not be one. The lane and land both bend to shape the horizon. Sunrise on the Caina Islands is eclipsing time. Save it in a flash of light, drawing with my eyes. This is called Do You Kiss With Your Eyes Closed? We climb volcanoes only to embrace in the crater. For 100 years we hold the same rope. Do you kiss with your eyes closed? How does it feel to hold me closer? Are you certain that my name is Huxley? Does the bright sun lighten your hair? Do you plant trees on holidays? Sometimes I am, sometimes not. collecting seeds or securing knots. We're carried on panels and dive off rocks, tuning pianos in the mornings. Answer me quickly. I want to know. Do you kiss with your eyes closed? This is called Windy Sequins. Through the missing bricks, you can see a banquet table with a candelabra crooked from water-falling wax. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a tablecloth with faintly gray claw stains left by mourning doves. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table, heaving with indentations from apples, persimmons, cantaloupes, and pears. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a deer walking in the distance while the finger painting floats to the ground. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table with unopened telegrams and sturdy silver trays stacked up with books about the Enlightenment. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a pebble garden placed on a tree branch next to a mortar and pestle. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table lined along the bottom right edge with bowls of cold dandelion soup. Seated 45 degrees away from the banquet table is a man with a salt and pepper waxed mustache humming waltzes and complaining about the distortions of sounds and colors. 110 years old, and he doesn't know that electric blue can be beautiful too. All right, we are going to do songs without music. So good luck. All right. Saul, standing outside of the Burger King, watching you at age 5, sleeping on the floor, your parents dismayed because you wouldn't get up and play and run around. Instead of the beginning when you were an infant screaming, I remember you repeating yourself at age 7, watching Jacob play video games, watching your grandfather import coffee and bananas, watching your cousin spit raw churned turd snuff into the Royal Crown cola cans with tiny flecks of carrot stuck between his teeth, whistling a song all but forgotten, filing porn under his jacket at the tackle and bait shop. The slight sigh of your mother as you pressed her stomach, the leaves on the trees pointing, "You are wrong." So I coughed and I took some books from Jacob and took Meredith's old records with a giant eraser and got rid of Peter and Paul straight off the cover. Mother Mary all alone with no route home and a husband who doesn't vote, but made his voice count, stealing election signs from his neighbor's lawns of Dawn's the long ago retired janitor of Constancy, the surgeon's custodian. There should have been a passing lane, an oasis for souls with drained desires, and where disconnected relations can sit at empty tables and wait for service. You stared at the chickens needing feed. Joan ignored his chores, and you refused to converse with the mailman, interlocking circles of uninspired activity, the robotic enjoyment, the scent of the mold wafting across the staircase. You called it a quarter. It was, in fact, a hubcap, a clean confession, lying shining on the unpaved. I could say it turned to crystal. Jacob naturally would. But you would only laugh. Rannon and Boaz would. When you pose for a picture, don't remember to smile. Pax. Hyman. Saul. Sometimes when I write to you, I'm not sure how much it's safe to say, and I wish I could explain Why I need you to understand the time from which I came, and I know you don't relate in my setting the stage like an alligator migraine while I waited for the California girl, for George to finally answer his phone with a snide, meaningless rhyme of a line. The rest is just depressing. About the girl in her mother's house in Riverside wanted to commit suicide, and I wanted a detailed confessional, all on film first. As you can see, there's nothing here for you to read. Pax, Hyman. Song. So far, this has been a pretty one sided conversation, and for that I apologize. When the morning sun will come, with the morning sun will come your time to talk, and sweep the sand off the tiled floor, whilst the rush hour train runs overhead and you pause to reflect on its scheduled splendor. But no matter how long the giraffe's neck is, no matter how many feathers flock together on the guest list, no matter how articulate I am, what I can't ever convey to you is that you haven't experienced the patterns yet, and what comes next after context evaporates and leaves an ashy white film over your arms, elbows, and shin. What you do the day after, your alert eyed, shaking shoulder sincerity turns into memories and you can't properly recall, not just because they've been disproved or jettisoned, not because you've forgotten the power of them, but out of overuse and inability to transfer the arrival time at the next station. And I say this not to damn your chances nor discourage your efforts, and I wish my thoughts on this could swim like silver fish on a window slicked with mercury, but what I know you've never been told is that the measurement isn't ever based in the wind blowing around two targets in east and west opposites, that you made your myth with an endless adolescence, that you don't see the line you can slip behind and get deceived into thinking that you've already tripped and it's time to recover quick. No, you've still got several years left to go, and the energy is waving and clear, and I may make up my mind about you this time, but neither I nor your godfather lied when we said it's not a trick. It's not from dreams, nor a passing secret. You should spread your fingers when you're told it isn't magic. The world, the world, the world, life on this planet. Sometimes I get so distanced when I'm racing against myself, screaming from scene to scene. A stranger who's numb to the touch, see the back of his head right in front of me. My life. I fear the enemy from the mist and the enemy within, the wealth of the ego and what I might invoke at my most careless after I've abandoned rest. So I sit up all night and wait, concentrate, and consider the possibilities until the conversation between my stomach and spine has run silent and solid, certain that I see consequence and evidence, give praise, feel my eyelids tick, and ask for forgiveness. And I must be honest, at the end of all of this, I have a laugh at the idea of spending my life in a prostrated state of being endlessly apologetic, because I've seen too many people for whom hand wringing humility is the height of arrogance, and to be joyless, to never wink or blush, is to give a convincing performance. Pacts, Paul. She had no idea who we were, but she waited anyway for us to gather by her side. The night my grandmother died, I waited for my family to leave the room. Then I opened her eyes to see if she'd give me any sign. She used to blink at me when she'd say something that wasn't right. We'd laugh across her line of sight, but now her pupils didn't meet mine. Her forehead ignored my fingernails. Her jaw was tight. I walked the floor of my house until I forgot about time, with the blinds open, studying the sky. I waited and wanted her ghost to arrive, but I heard someone murmur, "She has nothing left to show," and it made me realize that she dissipated into the air a long time ago, and even if it were possible, why would her spirit appear here? Oh God, enough. My father looked right at me and said he was filled with fear that there was nothing. And I said, "Don't be blank." When I was where you were, I heard our relative's voice plainly tell me that I had a choice. Bright, white. I was slightly below myself, double exposed. The cold rag water, without the reaching heat, I would have froze. It's ringing. It's ringing really loud. Last night, never forget. The future is just an abstract concept, and the here is gone before it is the now. Eventually, it will stop, and you'll either face up or you will not. No one speaks in the summer. What makes you so afraid of snakes and lizards? They're all God's creatures. They're just crawling in the dust, wishing they could float above the grit, search out a little desert steak, relax, and enjoy the cool rocks against their scales and the splash of wind on their tails. No one speaks in the summer, but I'm never lonely or bored, 'cause sometimes I'm my own sister or brother, slip out of the side waiting to materialize, and I'm passive when it rains because I know it's been too humid, and I can't change what I'm feeling because I never know what I'm seeing. No matter how hard I try, I can't ever blink every hour, I can't measure what I take, I can't make myself faint. I'm a canvas, always shedding paint. 3 people in 3 days. No one speaks in the summer. But why was it now so cold? I didn't care what I was told, so I found myself singing along with songs a decade and a half old, could have been a lifetime ago. He showed up playing a strident saxophone, and I said, no, no, man, give me 2 silver clarinets and an oboe. We were open, we were able. If there was no crime, then we're not criminals. We're a field of echoes growing for the earth angel. No one speaks in the summer, and all the secrets I've stolen I've kept to myself. The rain fell fast in quick, loud bursts, then would vanish. He'd been distracted for hours. The longer he avoided sleep, the more he was annoyed and perplexed. The rain sounds fake. If it were a movie, it would be a lame special effect. He woke up the next morning, forced himself to go to work, called her when he got to his desk, said she had to see him, no excuse, since she was the only one he could trust. He scared the hell out of her at lunch, speaking in breathless gulps, cold sweat coating his wet lips, swinging his arms to point at the ghosts in the corner, but it was just the waiter wanting to refill the water. She tried desperately to change subject and said she just read The Help, but he was an unchained dog. Back in the parking garage, he touched her for the first time and said, "Thanks for listening to me, but none of it was me. All of it belonged to someone else." She begged off, but before the end of the day wanted to make sure he was still okay. He wrote back that everything was fine, thanks, and that he'd had a good time. No one speaks in the summer. You don't have any interests. You're going to go shallow because you don't have any interests. No one speaks in the summer. Demi finished the last exam of her last semester, stopped by her mom's job to find out her new shift hours and say hi to her boyfriend, and reminded him to pick her up from his parents' place later. In her glove compartment were the glass beads her mother had bought back in '72 when she went to the London School of Economics, as she was fond of pointing out, just a few years after Mick Jagger. No one speaks in the summer. She was feeling incredibly lazy as she read an email from a guy she half remembered. He was always complimentary, but everything he said was out of order. She wrote back something quick and noncommittal with a minute mix of enthusiasm. That'll pacify him. She passed the afternoon playing with her cats, then rolled over and took a nap. Her boyfriend texted her that he'd be bringing dinner back. A certain psychological tendency. Jim was in the editing room. Not only had he not laughed in weeks, he was now becoming contemptuous of his colleagues, who smiled constantly, immediately embraced strangers, and acted as if life was a party piece designed solely for their amusement. Jim looked down at the floor. It was littered with random strips of celluloid, unhinged reels, and empty canisters. He never doubted the story he wanted to tell, but now his mind pulsed with endless ideas for framing devices, the rhythms of the third act, should there even be a third act, obfuscation techniques, rewriting, redubbing the dialogue, and where to place the music. In a fit of frustration, Jim had taken a key moment of the film and with a safety pin carved across several frames, "I never had prose ambitions." He was careful to not write any of the letters backwards. He wanted this to be seen, even if it was only subliminally. He had been in this small white room seemingly forever. He wanted a sound night of sleep. He wanted a meal of more than bad Mexican food at McDonald's or a hot dog from Pink's. But until all of this was done, he knew that in good conscience he would never leave. I never had prose ambitions. I made the movie about a moth. It's called 50 Days, though part of me thinks that's quite obvious. The opening is about a group of people wandering the hills. All I wanted was to set the scene, to capture this windswept flamenco red splotch, orange pink autumnal opulence. The rest of the movie is just close ups of the moth and the flame. But the moth is in no way attracted to the flame. All the moth wants to do is study it, see if the flame melts vinyl, see if burnt skin is final. Then it ends with a small group chant, a small prayer, and they go, "If I were to meditate only on my name, is when I would finally go insane." And they clap and ring bells and laugh, and a couple of the guys pretend to have sword fights with the candles. Listen. One gray dawn, mist pelted the cobblestone. I climbed the fence, walked along the beach, and in disbelief, I finally got my wish. I was walking towards myself. Finally, my brother. Even better, my twin. We talked for a moment, shared a laugh, corrected a few of each other's memories. But he was taller, slimmer fingers, whiter teeth, and he was left-handed. And I knew he wasn't me. So I started walking away. I made up a melody, opened my mouth to sing. I was born to roam alone. Yes, it's all true. That happened when I was 16. You wear a crown of flowers in a field of trees in Southern California, singing in Spanish, running along the Valencia oranges. But I can see you're really an apple, in an eggshell frock with a laugh that could sail over a sequoia. Garden of paradise, sparrow flying in your mind, the hand of the past is touching. You emerge from the bath filled with milk and lilac. Blue pale light is flowing. My whole life I've been writing songs without music, and there's no mystery without a clue, except it's all true, and you can sing along if you can hear the tunes. And by the time that I am breathing, we are looking for new life in the big world. Spent a mile with an open mouth looking at the lantern for a route. Everything's in and everything's out, and we are looking for new life in the big world. The fruit got spoiled when it was protected, but the seeds got resurrected. The wheel turned around and we had electric spasms. We walked in and then we walked out looking for new life in the big world. We gathered round the piano and listened to the sound of the notes soar and the chords pound, and we laughed and cried and sang at the sun and everyone. We were looking for new life in the big world. We remembered the formations, traveled through the stations, sometimes for excavation, but mostly we were looking for new life in the big world. How are we doing out there? Doing okay. That's a long one, isn't it? It's almost 20 minutes. Good Lord. All right. So because I have COVID. um, I was thinking that I might do just the first half of the set, but I'm feeling good. I've got cold sweats, like this thing is getting out of my fucking body. It's good, and I keep feeling stronger. The only thing impinging the performance is my sinuses are a little weird, um, and have been for several days. I had a sinus infection in November. Oh, if some of you saw the Ego Sum Ignis performances, you will remember the sinus infection because I sounded terrible. The first performance was good. I think the second one started going downhill. By the third, there was supposed to be four, and then the third one I just did like literally did half and barely croaked my way through it. Um, that was pretty bad. But you know, we're just gonna keep going, I think. So, if I bail, I bail. If I can't do it, if I physically can't do it, I physically can't do it. But, fuck it. Nothing can stop me. It's called Never Now. Never now, never now, never now. What's the reaction from fear? What needs repair? Never now, never now, never now, never now. Who's paying attention? Who's playing their role? Never now, never now, never now, never now. What always was and will always remain leaves the question, what needs to get changed? Never now, 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 never now. It's called Sympathy for the Cowboy. You all remember this one. Sympathy for the cowboy, all alone on the range. After the war ended, he was forced to change his name. Sympathy for the cowboy holding his dying brother, who begged with his last breath, "Tell mother I died with honor." Sympathy for the meth lab and all who fight in harm's way, who hope to abolish minimum wage and charge only $15 a day. Sympathy for modern times and those who argue that they're right. Sympathy for the victim who already has all the laws on their side. Sympathy for the student who's only lived in theory in a hammer and sickle t-shirt, walking away from the barricade. Sympathy for the lawsuit and all who fought for reform. Sympathy for the bumper sticker telling you to be reborn. Sympathy for the stallion running free and too wild to ride. Sympathy for the guy who tried. His wife cried, him and his foolish pride. Sympathy for the strawberry and the trial separations. Press releases pleading for privacy, self-serving autobiographies, nonsensical Instagram posts, and of course doing it for the kids. Sympathy for the nihilist, sucking on his cigarette, cutting you off in traffic, no constraints of guilt or regret. Sympathy for the stalker, on his computer outside, looking at pictures of you in high school, saving each one even if it takes him all night. Sympathy for the cowboy, whose son moved off the ranch, said he might be coming back soon, if there's no change of plans. Whoa. Okay. Got a little scared there. All right. All right. This is called Cruelty Free Heroin. When the guardian goes mad, the sun rains against their eardrums, indistinguishable from Morse code tapping out on a copper plate. Yes, when the guardian has gone mad, they're found singing love songs to tanks, draping staircases in flags, breaking car windows to decorate their faces with the glass. When the guardian goes mad, they're captured pushing a pickaxe into an LED screen and detained for threatening to throw snakes at gas station attendants. When the guardian goes mad, people suddenly remember to turn on AM radio and patiently follow guidelines before filing a full report, though there are always doubters and passers-by who start conspiracies, the usual being that this was a planned distraction. If the guardian goes mad, they'll arrive at every awards ceremony with a mirror in hand and a ribbon under their chin and make demands to review the voting processes when they don't win. If the guardian goes mad, they'll rue the day they lost control of their relationships, spending weeks hiring staff to bury paperwork they'll insist doesn't exist. If the guardian goes mad, all their meals shall consist of orange peels pulled from chain link fences and burned coffee flavored with molded peach preserves, though there are always doubters ready to offer an opinion of unverifiable proof, summarizing the death and maps are the only real measures of impact. If the guardian cracks up, they'll spend bleak days envisioning trees committing suicide, grandmothers doing crystal meth for the first time, and gnats smeared into toothpaste. If the guardian cracks up, 7 strangers stuck in a bank will claw at each other to seek cold air in the vault and wait for their families and firemen to arrive and dig them out. If the guardian cracks up, pirates will walk their own planks and devour themselves once they hit the water, thrashing back at their gnashing teeth, running the seas red until hunter and prey are finally one. Ignorance, arrogance, the pest control man said unto me. When I was in Japan, I bought cherry bread in a can. I opened it with a knife and slid off the wrapper. The air bubbles stayed floating in my mouth, and I rolled them around and around and around until I returned back to the West. Bliss, tolerance, the pest control man said unto me. Sometimes my apartment building turns into a vending machine, and I get deposited out into the evening to provide goods and services for lucky couples with good taste and a few wandering dollars to rub together. COVID. This is called The Rabbit and the Cowardly Wolf. Who cares? An angry ingrown sore, spreading red and silently whining in the body. What body? The publisher expressed her body. A brace of muscle spasms in her right bicep. She'd observe her pet rabbit in its cage and skip past the turn of the century print in her father's office depicting a fox hunt. And yet, just 1 block away, another rabbit sat in the passenger seat, horribly embarrassed as the cowardly wolf got a breathalyzer, and then failed to walk in a straight line. But back to the unnamed girl. I think it might have been Amanda or Amy. When one's head is round as a bowling ball and smokes their shame and presses bare-chested on saplings in the spring at dawn for an unobserved tiny tingle before the roll is called. Clearly mockery is uncalled for and exoneration is at a premium. But we shall not allow for a violation of definitions, especially for one as important to this narrative as Amanda or Amy. No, 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 no. When the rabbit stepped down as the star of his own sitcom to attend to those personal issues there had been so many whispers about, the cowardly wolf suddenly was left without something to watch, emulate, idolize, sneak in a quick jerk during the commercials to, argue with, get enlightened by, surprise by, study, evaluate, grade, rate, review, proselytize on behalf of, display obscure knowledge of, and obviously whinge that it wasn't as good as the early years, and that he would know since he was there before whoever he wasn't impressing. But since no other show gave the Cowardly Wolf the flood of serotonin he craved so restlessly, he grudgingly and pragmatically chose to watch reruns in perpetuity. And why not dress it up a little? For they could be revivals, or even better, celebrations, a new institution, a part of our shared experience, an ongoing mounting heritage. Clutter. Television was broke. The Rabbit and Cowardly Wolf decided to intercept their favorite actor's private plane, and as he touched down at the dullest airport you can imagine, the duo were hilarious to themselves. Is he wearing rayon? It's not like he couldn't afford Ultra Suede. After the actor greeted them with a few quick canned quips, he deftly inked two memories, and upon his departure, the Cowardly Wolf chided the Rabbit about mistaking the actor's autograph for a pictograph. As they later sat in the 50s diner, their root beers run flat, the jukebox unplugged by the owner. Who was that fighter who went around without throwing a single punch? It wasn't Willie Pep. Which one are you, an afterthought? Welcoming back Amanda or Amy? I handed him my ovation, but it wouldn't play. Total silence. He gave it back, and I sounded like Segovia. He tried one more time, and it was like someone had pressed a mute button. I see you've just wandered in. Do you want to give an account of yourself? The committee smiles, the lead lawyer holding out a pen. The Rabbit renews his contract, and his first project is a mystery called If Only You Were Innocent. Photographs, press conference, no disclosed details of the arrangement. He thanked his agent, Marty Weber, with a note and a fruit basket. The Rabbit's people punched up the script with gems like, Son, you're a born fact checker, right down to the letter. I'll sell my secrets because I don't care. And, of course, the catchphrase, which was on t shirts and mugs everywhere. Only dogs try to understand things. Meanwhile, the Cowardly Wolf had disappeared for 4 days to investigate a garden. He had wanted to make a biopic about himself, but he couldn't secure the rights. The Rabbit and Cowardly Wolf slumped drunkenly against the back wall of their town, with only the moonlight reflecting off their wine bottle. Yet neither the Heroin butcher's wife nor the laborer pounding spikes shall feel a rigidity known in the necks like the mechanic's racks that feels nor floats a lodestone on the banks betwixt a bell end and an alarm clock. Do you think it's wrong to contradict yourself, seasick? Since you are no longer allowed to enjoy a glass of water, the Cowardly Wolf mumbles a roar as that goddamn kid has taken his seat on the train again. Off the rails with that wretched decade. Then the remorse, the introspective post-mortem, the fashion, the architecture, the music, media, the technology, indecisive broad gestures, sweeping changes of the subject, conflating placating terminology with warm sentiment. The Cowardly Wolf appears to ignore the news feed. Deeply flawed, archaic, downright prehistoric. Dances over the line of self-parody so often you start to lose the ability to tell the difference. An obvious, forced version of what he used to do so effortlessly. Personally, I miss Amanda or Amy. The Rabbit and Cowardly Wolf get x-rays together, paw in paw at the clinic. Nothing's broken. They just like the way their jewelry looks against their bones in the photographs. At the ballet, the view from the private box is undisturbed, and the Rabbit relaxes and holds a bucket of carrots. The Cowardly Wolf watches him gnaw. They bought tickets using pseudonyms and are wearing new suits with contrasting fedoras and little pasted-on beards. In between acts, the Cowardly Wolf yawns, must they always? Which the Rabbit doesn't hear, and then the lights go black. The Rabbit bribed a policeman, and the Cowardly Wolf crouched behind a bush filming it all. And they're both smart enough to accept that this is an inherently artificial medium. They can't stand exposition disguised as dialogue, or arbitrary structural decisions, or the limitations of the budget, or when some exec wants to cast his nephew, who's really a good kid and just needs a way to break in. Amanda or Amy, I've always had such a high opinion of you. Save your dignity. Don't call the press. Preserve the essence of drama, the command, the show that intermittently ends and begins. This is called Red or Green. How are we doing out there? Doing good. Beautiful. Standing shoulder to shoulder, their backs against the obelisk which marks the exact center spot of their native island, Ellery questions why he accepted this invitation from Orla, a woman who used to only speak to him in passing, passive phrases, as her tousled, dehydrated blonde locks yank at the buckles on his jacket, and her voice now exhales ringing sleigh bells. Up Main Street comes a loose approximation of a circle formation, populated with drunken lorry drivers, whirling dervish dentists, pipe-wielding welders, and newly inoculated nurses who leer, howl, and rattle forks until they point and cry at planes flying by. Orla beholds this bedraggled throng with bemusement before her mind drifts to memories of eating escargot with her toes planted in the sand while her parents reminisce on the phone with old friends. Orla turns to admire Ellery's posture and pictures what he might look like in the shower once he takes that shredded shirt and those decaying jeans off. Don't pay attention to them, Orla says to Ellery seconds after he has decided to hold her hand. Orla relaxes and whispers, "We smell like the sun and our snow tastes like salt." And as the circle disperses, Orla and Ellery know all they have to do to get home is wander long enough. This is called Shiroi. We're actually gonna make a slight modification, everybody. Come on. No. There we are. There we are. So this is some stuff from the new book. So this is called Shiroi. So I'm just going to read them all together. It's Shiroi, Murasaki, and Silber. So here we go. I signed the guest book to see who else had been in the room. There were only 7 other names listed before mine, and one of them was in your handwriting using a nom de plume. They baked bread, they baked cakes in honor of the decision, waiting for the door to open. Netanyahu and Abbas took pictures from a delivery truck after they weren't invited in. I measured how fast the water filled the sink and hid my newly cleaned brushes and blades in the soil of a potted plant down the hallway. How I could still hear some voices echoing, free weights being dropped into a swimming pool. Why was the second name crossed out? Sneaking around and pausing sighs. Yes, yes, I remember when you walked on the water. I remember thinking that it was a trick of the morning. I remember a room full of hands stretched out towards you. I saw you open your eyes, wondering if you would ever repeat the moment. I remember when you walked on the water, and it wasn't a shallow stream leading to a moss trail. The memory is an object wrapped in monogrammed paper on a shelf. I was quoted in your speech, but later you did not recognize my face. You broke my concentration with your fluttering interruptions. You asked if I wanted to dance, then passed me off to your date. The dust from your cracked gasp landed on the shoulders of my tuxedo jacket. I could not have expected the choir to pull out flutes and spend the night trying to find a tune to sustain a 21-part harmony. I could not have wanted a seat against the back wall where the wheels of the dessert cart kept rolling into me. How could you forget the poster of the pincher-nosed couple with bleached flower countenance in the gleaming jewelry and full evening formal wear, holding tins of caviar, boasting that they brush their teeth with lard? This is called freshwater fish. Gnawing gold leaf off the treasure chest hurts my teeth. It only ever rains in here. My lungs clench and heave. I would be foolish to describe myself, but I hate feeling weak. I enter a frame with no door as a sign of involuntary retreat. The paper in the book disintegrates next to me. I never know how far deep I need to be. It's a lie that the path to you is a street. You're in a cage. The flowers are surrounded by grass. I'm entrapped in the glass I slam against. You have latches that you can flip, push over lamps until they fall and break. You can escape traps, laugh at knives. My true love faded with eternal life. This is White Apple. You become naked, with ivory skin, face like an alabaster wedding ring. Grow and live in a green-tinted glass tower with marble accents. You know the leftover unhealed scars of the ancients. You can taste the dead Romans in the ground when you eat the cloves of garlic, cold fingers in a clean line of events, little pencil marks leaving a rumor under the map, lotus position on the floor, side of your head laying in ice water, fresh sage on the bell, and in your pocket a jade pendant of a lantern, match earrings, a lone cigarette, a farthing and a sixpence, a plan to go to the States but not sure what dimes and nickels are worth yet or where to find Wyoming on a map, but that's a question at best for the solicitor or a prayer to the lace maker. You have the relics. Word came from the pontiff, an aged tooth now black as onyx. You become naked, with ivory skin, face like an alabaster wedding ring, in a penthouse apartment filled with ferns, studying a blue flame or the serrated edge of the ancients who built the park that you gaze out at. Boys and girls climbing a ladder, preparing a crown that they will wear if they choose to, they can share, looking at the Khyber Pass, buying a cart with supplies to last, heat production, carving a chair before the mold hardens, pressing stones into the floor of the garden, removing spikes from the ocean, twin conversations without a sound, ripple effect, the rings spread over the gown, their bodies, the sun and stars barely touching. Beginning of the day, reflection eyes every moment, in exchange of an inspired surprise. Boys and girls. My front door, there was a knock. Didn't open up even a tiny crack. I said, go away from here and never come back. But that was an illusion. I know a servant in her master's house. She walks around, head tilted up in arousal and awe. She never plans to come out. She's quiet like a nail in the wall, slides her face down the granite on the fireplace to calm herself after roaming the limestone banquet hall. She is a far greater virtue than those she sold her name to. She never stops speaking in an inaudible hum, turns the ringer off on the phone. She said to me that I could be a great actuary. I said, why? And she replied, well, in your soul and out of their cells, you know that people can't save themselves. Celeste, plucking out notes. Your voice enters, both leaping the octave up. I never need to find you. I see you everywhere I look. Every flower petal, every blade of grass is in the detail of your face, your flesh. You sit at the piano and play simple chords, ascending, and as the sustain fades, the tones are slightly bent, but each note you've picked is one of the elements. You're lighting up this room without even realizing it. You write down that I is another. You're electricity. You make me. She asked her, "What do you think of the shower?" She said, "It's beautiful. Warm, warm." And she could drink each drop, and she shouldn't say anything is beautiful because she doesn't know you. She's never seen you, not even a picture. It's true. You make me. It'll take 7 minutes to tell you how sometimes I feel like a vampire. I take your feelings, your moments, and feel them deeper than you did. Make you think you're insincere. But is that so bad? I don't know. You make me. I run. You've always been free. You're so smart. Smarter than I am. Maybe that's what I believe, because I've never seen you stop and think. It simply is, forwards, and you could be in reverse. I think your mind is maybe the most beautiful thing, but then your eyes. I rewrite the list all the time. Heaven's choir is harmonizing for you right now. Can you hear them? Can you feel the vibrations gently holding your body? What they're singing about, only 1 in 30,000 could ever even understand it. Further words fail me. I just want to watch from my window and think about the falling rain, rest my head and see your grace. I'll be back to you in just a moment. I have to change the subject for a second. The cloud drizzled down today, only followed by the most incredible vacuum of quiet, a right shock of silence, and up from that, after about a paused minute, was the first truly joyful noise we'd heard in a long while. To us alive on earth, a celeste plucking out notes. Warm, warm. Let's kiss. You make me. All right. This is called You Deserve Nothing. Laughing hands scrape an empty plate, grasping for invisible veins, wearing a sodden jacket with sagging pockets, weary with the weight of wet sand, thinning hair gathered to protect what isn't there, and still laughing to distract from stepping on the ashes of a ticket matted into the tile, laughing, still laughing, to distract from the chiming music boxes that you've forgotten. You leap around on tightropes left slack. You only drink water from your flask. Thinning hair, a cigarette hole burned through your mask. Thinning hair, bruised thumbs, playing games of chance. Laughing that plays as muted rumbling while you try jumping. Rotted wood blocking your path. Laughter that echoes in the vast nothing off your charred promises and wasted hopes. What do you see when you close your eyes? This is called Vampire. I took your trust, hid the truth, and crushed out any hope for relationships, crossed every name off your list. I stole your ideas, claimed the credit, and kept doing it until you had no inspiration left. I made off with your money, doubled all your debts, bought whatever I needed while you stupidly slept. I'm a vampire. I'm acting with my eyes. I leave your muscles as stripped, dissipated, wrung out strands. I drank your memories and then spit them into the soil. I sucked your smile, made your face monochromatic, then complained how you constantly underreact. I sneered at your tears, stifled a titter when you held me close. I swallowed your sincerity and told you that you're an insufficient host. I reversed your resentments, made my argument more articulate. How did it feel to hear your own criticisms repeated back as a compliment? I'm a vampire and I'll never flinch. Dead dog lying on the floor, unborn baby in the sink, shattered lamp in your feet. I made your humor a hollow husk, told you your laugh sounded dumb. I drained your judgment dry, cursed you with terminal indecision, pilfered the rest of your youth, unkinked your sarcasm, poured your perfume on the floor, raided your clothes, don't care if you're comfortable. I want you exposed. I'm a vampire. I'm always impassive. I'm a vampire. My body's inactive. I shredded your sadness, ripped your instincts. I leapt on top of you, hoping you'd faint. I bit down and wouldn't let go till I'd taken every last trace of your faith. I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! You don't get anything! I'm a vampire! I leave you with nothing! I'm a vampire! I've done nothing wrong! Get it together, get it yourself. The feelings you had linger for months. Under the ground, garden life albatross, she bleeds all over me. I say ball and chain in simple words. Idealization, affiliation, detoxification, menstruation. Dirt in the coffin, she's bleeding on the flower stems. Up in the air, salivating tissue. Under the ground, dirt on the nails, bleeding again. Extend a hand and loving help, but maybe you should just kill yourself. Let's share the silence while everyone's absent. With the electricity out, it's unknown if the edges can be seen. Thin line, take your clothes off and find out if you're purple. Supine, time to get reserved by disengaged, ridiculous, dreary people. I'm optimistic enough to whisper in your ear, vanish into the walls and watch you walk to the chair. Let's share the silence, test the power of my stare and the limits of your willingness, then pretend we're unaware when you stand in front of the mirror and all the stringent reasons why you're really here. I'm clear enough to stand near the back, not against your thigh to avoid glancing at your eyes. Let's share the silence, ease into your patience, measuring what each instant takes, seconds after the temperature breaks, and staying anxiously awake, while the next 7 minutes are advanced into minute facets, slipping across conjoined elements. I'm open enough to adjust the embryo window, your tight spine, your consent, the tension kept sacrosanct. I am fire! I leave a stinging scar on your back. If you come near, I have no fear, and I know no love. While you burn, I don't care! I am fire! Ren threatens to slice her mother with piano wire and wishes her father would give her a try. She wants to feel her leg muscles flexed and proud, hungrily wrapped around. I see the moon rising, I swallow the silver light, strap myself to the mattress, a fox's snout pushing between my legs, and tear my hair out of these stupid braids. I have to tell you, I push the bristles of my toothbrush through my full bush, and no, I'm not ashamed. You think I'm fucking afraid? I want to get poisoned from diseased eggs, and I want to furiously burn, to feel the curling flame, to inflict the searing pain! Viscous liquids slowly spread across the floor, covered with a shadow. Morella stands with force-coughed laughter, a few phrases hoping her host will believe this is a natural interaction. She sees two children in the kitchen sitting with folded hands and strangers' faces staring through the window at them. The host had been holding a one-sided conversation about if atoms turn to ice or go dry when they stop vibrating, and then began conjecturing about how people he'd left behind, and informally ended with the enigmatic, "I want to drain your glass eye." Into the ocean, Morella stands naked before the mirror, remembering her husband's tattoo, thinking she should not succumb to low desires. She remains unsure about the connection between newborn and mother, nervous that the baby doesn't reach out for love, but out of instinct for its own interests. When she was pregnant, she was never told she had a glow. She figured her purity would show in her unmarked face of snow, but that was years ago. Morella knows the ghosts are laughing at her. When she talks to her boss, when she steps in the shower, Morella knows the ghosts keep her depraved when they take off her clothes, when they change her name. But the reality is far more plain. The only one watching her is a raw nerve who pays attention after he's completed his redactions and thinks he's the last rational man in any room. It stands in the stairwell. It asks me to display concern. It analyzes my impulses. It blends back into paintings. It asks me what I'd do if I'd never get caught. It asks how much I'd pay for the chance. It writes down my final thoughts at night. It convinces me to miss my flight. It makes it seem impossible to be love intoxicated when you abstain from all vice. Waking from recurring dreams to discover none of the 4 previous visitations ever happened, trying and failing to remember the details of why they seemed so real, writing prayers of protection and then taping them to the walls, swearing at myself for not having read what I should. The host appears wearing spotless black cashmere, fingernails neatly manicured 2 inches long. The host fills the sink with boiling water while he watches turn gray when he pokes in a finger. I'm afraid of spring and what it means. It's safe to stay enclosed in the winter. Remaining quiet with migraines, willing away regression, casting off possessions. I need evidence that this will work, a sign for the effort. Do you think you are God's camera? I need evidence that this will work, a sign of what this is worth. Do you think you are God's camera? I don't need to create another myth. I don't need to be dependent. Do you think you are God's camera? This is called room service. They arrive every year this time. They put swimsuits on, they tell jokes, and get the punchlines wrong. We set up the continental breakfast and watch the elevators come down. Before the wake-up calls, we're cleaning the halls. The tables are heavy. We vacuum the lobby. The rest of the morning, we're washing silverware and folding towels. I have to work a double tonight. I'm tired, but I don't mind. At least I'll get some overtime. But by 9, it seems like this shift will go on forever, because it feels like I'm living in a non-stop dream. The lights are always on. I can't sleep or run away, because I'll get in trouble. Get in trouble. I can't believe they stiffed me on a tip. I carried their luggage to the street. This is real, so bite my lip and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back. I get so frustrated when they ask me to repeat things because of my accent and then say, "It's so cute the way you speak," and I have to listen to some woman complain about the thread counts of the sheets. I don't want to work tonight, but I really don't have a choice. I have to make what I can now, because I won't be young forever, because it feels like I'm living in a non-stop dream. The lights are always on. I can't sleep or run away, because I'll get in trouble. I can't believe they forgot to fill the pool with chlorine. Second time this week. Not my job, but they still complain to me. This is real, so bite my lip and smile politely as I can. Yes, I understand, ma'am. My heart really gets racing when their kids throw things. I can't wait to go home tonight, but it'll be okay, because it's either this or the Spoon Factory, and I can't wait to go home tonight. And this is our final piece of the night. We made it. I have COVID. Did you know that? Have I not fucking gone that well enough times? God, my hair looks really blonde today. Jesus. All right. Got one more to go. Oh, fuck it. COVID! I never fucking said I was tasteful. All right, let's do this. This is called Solar Halo. This is our final piece of the night. Tenement chimneys pour smoke. Pigeons fly off as streetcars approach. A young boy buys an apple from a vendor. Caractacus walks in numbered patterns, stepping over the pythons he imagines are trying to slither up his ankles. He spies what he thinks is a fallen pocket watch and stops to nick it off the sidewalk when he realizes it's a coin, made of the brightest bronze he's ever seen. One side is a large Cairo symbol, and the other is Sol Invictus underneath an olive wreath. He holds the coin in his hand, pushes it into his palm. The metal starts sticking to his skin. He affirms he will resist temptation. Great God, what is this? Caractacus's sister Anastasia screams as she finds the coin sitting by the sink. Brother and sister furiously wrestle, screeching obscenities and clawing at each other's closed grasps until they dissolve into an exhausted truce. Later, in the cellar, Caractacus explains the immense difference between repeating spells and recognizing miracles. Anastasia understands and agrees. Through a low-slung window, they see something in the cold, crackling beams. A shrunken, withered, dog-shaped figure rapidly decomposing into dust, leaving a smell of rot and a mound of mold. Caractacus and Anastasia instinctively clasp hands, close their eyes, and yell emphatically, "Wave our arms in the widest ovals! Never fear the sea or sky! Stand unmarked with mind unraveled! Create high tide with a lullaby! Reach through walls, peer through prisms! Never fear the sea or sky! Sail backwards through paths untraveled! Alter reflections while in flight! Scarlet swamp of barely supported swaying aqueduct, violet pink air, dark green trees with bubbling bark, and miles away on the shore of the beach underneath a robe and towel, Nanko tries to sleep despite the peering sun and rooster's howl. Leonidas crawls out from under a styrene house and slips on the corrugated metal lawn left wet from the overhead morning watering system. He walks past rows of locked parked cars that have never been driven, pulls out a syringe that's been stuck in one of the wheels. Nanko molds thick gray bluish glue into an axe and hisses, "Never in the night will a fire feel starvation. Never will a moment contain a lifetime. Never will a fallow field yield flowers." Nanko draws a phallus on the wall of the steeple she's locked in. She peers out and sees lava consuming the horizon. She fixes her stare long enough and sees it freeze before her. She tries to break out and leap down the stairs, but lands in an attic full of empty chairs. She screams to Leonidas, "Please touch my hand!" Leonidas hears a murmur, finds a nuisance he cannot ignore, crawls across the floor, and clutches the dog-shaped figure, which is wrapped in a dress covered in half-moon slivers, and starts melting into Leonidas's hand, the cloth stinking of burning silicone. Leonidas screams to Nanko, "The burning rot! I hate this stench! Where is your hand? Reach out for me!" The lumbering, steel-footed horse's corpse, snorting and slobbering, black humidity comes braying at them both. Leonidas and Nanko are finally able to touch. Light pushes out from both underneath her fingernails and through needle prick marks across his palm. They can see transparently from all angles. They can feel beams shining from the sun, erasing the shame, the curses. The air is arid. and they can go anywhere they've never been. Caractacus and Anastasia emerge and see the coin is a small orb of light. The light is water, and the water is light. The brother and sister meet a healer. Anastasia plucks a feather from the healer's parakeet for safekeeping as a sign of good faith. The healer drops a spoonful of wet soil into their waiting hands. Caractacus and Anastasia travel through the world in silence, with no separation or secrets between them. They glance at Wilhelmina, Tawny, Sardis, Xenia, Ren's mother, Rabina and Zarina, Ellery and Orla, Eston, and the rest, who are gathered together on the steps of St. Michael's to see them walk past, and it is there that we will leave them. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. We hope that you've enjoyed it. I'm glad I made it. Glad I did it. And we will be back next week. We will be back on Thursday. So hopefully I will be a completely recovered, healed man. So anyway, so we hope that you have enjoyed this. Spring Eternal, Truth and Beauty, etc., etc., and nothing can stop me. So yeah, so we will see you all next week. Goodbye.